All right, guys, I am here with Sarah Tugender, and we are talking all about medically assisted weight loss. And if that is something that makes sense for your dermatology practice, for your plastic surgeon's practice, for your medispa, for your aesthetic clinic, you know, this industry is constantly evolving and changing, and there's always new services to add to our practice to really serve our patients fully. And so that's why when Sarah, you know, I know she's an expert in this area, and when she brought up that topic for me, I thought, wow, what an interesting thing to talk about for these cosmetic practices to add medically assisted weight loss for an additional stream of revenue. So that's our topic today. Sarah, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much for having me. This is a very exciting topic, and it's an $80 billion industry. So, yeah, I
Oh
think that
my goodness.
we can get a little piece of this pie and fit it into what your tribe is currently doing. Absolutely.
So 80 billion, that is insane. Because I know my specialty is really retail sales, and I talk a
Mhm.
lot about skincare and retail. And that's an $11 billion industry. And I'm seeing just life-changing things happening in practices when they really incorporate retail. But
Yeah.
if skincare is 80, or excuse me, if medically assisted weight loss is a $80 billion industry, that's a whole nother
Yeah,
piece of
well,
the
just, I mean, the weight loss industry in general. So, I mean, I think
okay.
that a lot of it's going to even overlap with what you talk about with retail. And so I know we'll get into different ways that weight loss can look like within a business, whether it's more of a medical spa or a dermatology practice or
Mhm.
aesthetics in general. I just think that everyone is talking about it. I mean, I went to the grocery store, and I feel like when I check out every time my bag of groceries, the cashier is like confessing to me their weight loss journey. And, oh, you know, I never tried jackfruit, but I really should. And I heard it's good for you, right? Everyone has an opinion, and everyone wants to categorize, you know, either the food they're eating or if they are exercising or not exercising. But you know what? There's a lot of people that are doing things on the side that are actually assisting with the way that their body composition looks. And these are a lot of the folks that are in your industry, the aesthetics industry. But we just have to figure out how to marry the two of them together. And you have really a home run. And then you have a client or a patient that is so in love with the services and the transformation, because that's what it is. If you can take someone on a transformation, I mean, they are going to sing your praises from the rooftops, send so many people in through your doors. And you could change not just one person, but you could change a whole family as well with changing the mindset.
That's amazing. Yeah. And, you know, I'm thinking back, I'm having all these kind of memories flash back from different times in my life working at different places. And when I was back at Medispa Maui, which is a med spa, we had a lot of our patients who had recently lost a lot of weight, and they were coming to us because they had excess skin, or you know, they had more wrinkles because when they were heavier the skin was more tight, and so they were dealing with those kind of things. So it really is two things that can be married that really complement one another very well if they're going through the weight loss but also managing their appearance throughout that. And like you said, having that entire transformation to becoming their best selves and really gaining the confidence that they need to be their best selves. So yeah, I love
Exactly.
that. I love that.
Exactly. Yeah. And sometimes weight loss doesn't just end once you've started to lose some weight. And that's where I think that this industry that we're talking about here, whether again it's aesthetics or medical weight loss, I just a retail and more of a retail environment, I think is poised for better accountability when it's cash based. You know, we're not worrying about insurance, we're not worrying about pre-authorization or did I hit my deductible or not. These are the folks, I mean, that really care I really find that your industry just embraces the client, embraces their patient in a different way than the traditional medical model. So I think that that's why this type of weight loss is a great fit in more of a beauty aesthetics industry.
Okay, so I have a lot of questions.
All right.
But first, before we get into kind of what medically assisted weight loss would look like in a practice and kind of breaking it down really on a granular level, what the different options are, why don't you tell us a little bit about your background and how you became so passionate about this in the first place?
Yeah, yeah. So my dad is an OBGYN and a lifestyle medicine physician. We are right here outside of Boston. So in the shadow of Harvard, my dad went to Tufts Medical School, man's greatest hospital, or MGH, is right here. And so I was actually born the weekend before my dad had his first medical school exam. So I like to say that I grew up with my dad in medical school. I remember times when my mom, when he was in residency, my mom would take my siblings and I in the car to go drop him off dinner, and we'd yell from the back seat, "Do Superman, Dad, do Superman." And he'd flip up his lab coat and run into the hospital. And he was just always my hero. I mean, he stitched us all up on the countertop and in the kitchen, and he still will diagnose my daughter and son with whatever they have over FaceTime. And a lot of times he'd pick me up after school and he'd have to finish his cases, and I would do my homework in a call room in the hospital and ask him what kind of babies he was delivering and what their names were. And I really felt like we were working together.
So
And
you've grown up with it. You've grown
I
up
did.
in this industry.
I did, but so then my experience took me, when I was thinking about talking with you, popped into my head that I did a study abroad in London, and my internship was at Elemis Day Spa. And I think that that actually influenced a lot. I was a public relations major, and I loved wellness. I did love health. And I saw health more as, being a doctor, a healer, a helper. And then I saw a whole different side of it in a spa and what it meant to take care of yourself and have tranquility and take some time for, I think at one point they did do a massage. I was like a guinea pig. They did a massage on my stomach that was supposed to detoxify you. I think it just tickled me the entire time. But I ended up becoming a pharmaceutical rep. And it was one day that I was stuck in traffic downtown Boston. That was my territory. And I was just, a glorified caterer, getting signatures, dropping off samples. And I didn't really feel like I was working with my dad in the same way that I felt like when I was in the environment, in the hospital with him. And so I put back on my marketing cap and said, I like retail. I like cash-based services, and I like the idea of doing them combined with medicine. So how can I do this? And weight loss industry has become my expertise. It's a natural fit. I go around the country now speaking and training and putting together seminars, and even going into practices and putting in weight loss programs. And it has really changed so many practices for the better, because it's added that stream of revenue that was already there.
Mm-hmm.
And, their clients, patients were going to spend the money anyways. It's the number one resolution every single year is to lose weight. All you have to do is just advertise that they can do it with you. And I have found that in any environment I've been in, we've been able to make it a natural fit that's authentic to the practitioner, or authentic to, the esthetician or the spa owner.
Very cool. So, and I love that you kind of have this background story of working with your dad. That's really sweet. And doing something that truly is changing lives, because when you lose weight, yes, there's the health benefits, and, you live longer, you have a just overall health, but you also, to get into the wellness component, you feel better about yourself. You know, you feel your confidence goes up, and that just truly affects quality of life so much. And that's so important for a happy life and a healthy life. You know, I mean, we don't all have to look like supermodels, but we want to look like our best self. And so that we can kind of go out there and have the confidence that we need to achieve the things that we want in life. So let's talk about what this looks like, what medically assisted weight loss would look like in a practice. So I'm going to tell you some of the things that I've heard, and then you can kind of give me a little bit of direction on this. So
Okay.
I've worked in practices where we did the B12 shot. I've worked in practices where we did bioidentical hormone replacement therapy. I've worked in places where we sold supplements. I've worked with practices as a consultant now that are selling fresh squeezed juices. So, you know, when I think of medically assisted weight loss, I mean, it's just huge, right? There's so many options. So what do you kind of define as that medically assisted weight loss to generate another additional stream of revenue?
Yeah, I think anytime that you're going to get an expert involved,
Mm-hmm.
now we're raising the level of the weight loss. So, and I think everyone has their own expertise. So, you know, we're going to go everywhere from working with a doctor to a registered dietitian, nutritionist, to a nutritionist, to a personal trainer, to someone who, you know, then just is a wellness advocate and enthusiast. And so, you know, I also, just to bring up some other things, you know, there's ultrasound, there's laser, there's CoolSculpting, there's radio frequency. Anytime anyone sells a cellulite cream, there's a new thing, you know, cryotherapy, there's, you know, the Kybella, and then there's where you need prescription like HCG model. And just like you mentioned, not just supplements, but also intensive behavioral counseling, which under Obamacare is now something that is reimbursable by insurance if we're going to do a blended model with anyone who can take medical insurance. But I think most people are just cash-based putting something together. And so my number one tip is always for people to find out, you know, what are you good at? What are your resources? Do you have a laser or products and services? Are you doing something like CoolSculpting? How many treatments does someone need? How many times are you going to see them? And what can you do in between treatments? I think that what you teach with retail, a lot of that is accountability. You know, someone saying, I need that cream, you making them accountable at the counter to taking home that cream today. It's the same thing, whether we're talking about taking home a product, booking the next service, we're talking about being accountable to a food journal, because that, I mean, let's just look at the Weight Watchers model. What works about Weight Watchers is the showing up every single week and being accountable, is having someone to say, you said that this was your goal, let's stick with it. And so I think that retail and weight loss go hand in hand. And I think that it's almost a must to consider some sort of products in wellness or weight loss, whether we're talking about, you know, a probiotic, a good multivitamin, or even something that, you know, is in the weight loss industry, whether it's a thermogenic or an appetite suppressant. And even if, let's just say, I mean, because there's lots of great studies that are out there, lots of cool products that I've been seeing on the market, you know, from pills and capsules to teas. And, you know, you mentioned things like juices and shakes, you know, but let's just say that even the placebo effect and knowing that there is that daily reminder is all part of it. It's part of that commitment to their journey, commitment to the promise that they made. The expert that they're talking to, the clinician, the esthetician, the nutritionist, it's that commitment to saying, I'm sticking to my journey. And that's that whether it's a placebo effect, but I think there's lots of great data behind some supplements. But I like the constant reminder as well.
Yeah, and I was thinking when you were talking about CoolSculpting specifically, so a lot of these treatments, the best candidates have a BMI of 30 or less. And so if you have a candidate who comes in and is wanting CoolSculpting and maybe they're not at that BMI yet, you can really say, okay, well, let's get you there with the medically assisted weight loss. And then for the stubborn pieces that are not going away, then we'll use the CoolSculpting to get you to where you want to be. So there is that whole other market of people who, if we didn't offer the medically assisted weight loss, we would just have to turn away.
What are you going to do? Even HCG, I mean, you can't go continuous with that. There's rounds. And, or, you brought this up, vitamin B injections to keep your energy up. Well, we also know that there's lots of diets to keep your energy up. And I say diets, not in like the DIE, starts with diet. We're not trying to kill anyone, but I mean, different lifestyles. So, whatever you're going to pick as the lifestyle recommendation of choice. I think most of them today that are working that have some clear science are all based on low glycemic impact. So having some sort of, monitoring your own insulin levels to keep them really stable. And I see a lot of lifestyle choices or diet, for lack of a better word, that they're all based on that. They're all based on the glycemic load and glycemic impact, whether, we're looking at carbohydrates or intermittent fasting or, keto's really big today. They're all going to have that same effect. And that's a really great way to be, like I said, in between rounds of HCG, in addition to CoolSculpting until you're a candidate for CoolSculpting or, any other treatment. And then even afterwards, because otherwise it's just a quick fix. And that's what we see. That's why it's such a big industry. It's such a big industry because the change is really hard. People will say to me, Sarah, it's always been really hard for me losing weight, obesity runs in my family. And I say, no one runs in your family, right? I mean, these traditions, family recipes run in your family. And so change is really hard to come by. And so that's why that accountability piece, I think, is the part that makes it more medical, actually, is just having some sort of accountability to it.
Okay, so you had mentioned starting by thinking about what you're good at. If you're a physician or you're a wellness center owner and you're wanting to kind of dip your toe in this and like, how do I get started? Okay, so the first thing you do is think about what interests you the most or what you're good at, right? Any tips on how to do that? Like, what if someone's like, I have no idea what I'm good at, as far as, like maybe they're not offering CoolSculpting. Maybe they're really into nutrition, but they don't have the training. How would they kind of go about that? And then once they figure out what they want to add to their practice, what do the pricing structure look like? Like, how do you charge for this kind of things?
Yeah. So start first with what you're good at, then determine what I think next is the length of your program. And that's going to help you figure out what you're going to put into it, because, it could be anything like we're seeing right now in the industry, more of a do-it-yourself or a 3 to 4 week program, to maybe a 6-week program is going to be a different price point. So I'm seeing that 3 to 4, maybe in the range of like, I don't even want to give prices because your podcast goes all over the place, but I can only speak to my, here in the Northeast corridor, I've seen maybe like $350 for them for a month. 6 months, maybe we're looking at something more in the $600 to $800 range.
And what's included in that? Is that materials? Is that counseling? Is that a plan? Like,
Well, so that's then the next. So once you figure out the length and the price point, now we can put the materials together. So now we can say, well, what do we already have? So if we are a wellness center, are we going to do something like, can we put together maybe, I think accountability has to be in there. So is it going to be and one-on-one accountability check-ins? Is it going to be a group check-in? Is it going to be a virtual check-in? See a lot of people actually putting together Facebook groups and creating communities online, which I know you're such a big fan of. And that is really helping and enhancing. And that's actually the patient's favorite part, is being able to interact in one place where they already are, which is Facebook. And then, can we do something like a % off of another kind of membership? So let's say that, your facility offers massages. Can everyone who's enrolled in the weight loss program, as a freebie and extra, could it be that you get a % off of massages for the time that you're enrolled, or a super duper low price? How can you partner with other people at your facility? What are those things that don't cost anything, like a Facebook group? Accountability, unless you're hiring someone else, doesn't have any hard costs. And then what are the hard costs? Like, if you are offering a body wrap, let's say, how much does that product cost you? How much does a vitamin injection cost you? How much do supplements cost you? Figure out all of those hard, tangible products, and then all of the things that you can add to supercharge the program. And that's how you're going to start to put this together. And then from there, you're going to say, well, what do I need to make this happen? What are the resources? And I think having a specific wellness coordinator, whether it's someone on site, virtual, or someone that comes at designated times, is the absolute game changer. And it can be anyone from a medical professional, maybe a medical doctor, a nurse practitioner. There's a lot of nurse practitioners that are looking to get into weight loss, that are looking to moonlight in more aesthetic settings. And I've seen that. I have seen registered dietitians that don't want to work in the traditional medical space. They really like the flexibility and the freedom. And then there's a million trillion health coaches out there. So really do your due diligence and find those health coaches that are from the more accredited programs. But those are great people, and they have a great training for that accountability piece, because as the busy professional, you're not going to have time to be able to serve large groups of people, but you can bring someone on board for very low money that can do that for you and are well equipped to do that.
So what I'm hearing when you're saying this, and what I'm thinking of, is the membership model, which is we are seeing pop up everywhere in different types of businesses. And I talk about it a lot for spas, is a way to generate consistent revenue. Have a VIP membership where they get discounts on facials or massage or whatever it is. And they, presuming that they commit to a certain amount of time, or, they get a free facial every month. As long as they pay this, they get a discount on their products. But fitting the weight loss piece into there, or simply calling it, maybe having like different tiers where they have it's like a health membership, and part of their overall health kind of takes that, when you were saying diet has the word die in it, if you make it like a health membership rather than like I'm losing weight or something like that, it makes it more of a lifestyle change. And then the benefits of membership is consistent recurring revenue. And one of the studies that I reference all the time, because I just think it is so, so powerful, it was done by Harvard Business Review. And they said that a 5% increase in client retention will increase your profit margin by 25 to 95%.
Wow.
So when we focus on having instead of consistently, and this goes along with what you were saying as well, instead of spinning our wheels and just trying to find new patients, new patients, new patients, it's about going deep and really figuring out the lifetime customer value. Like, what else can I be providing my clients and my patients so that they are fully, you know, that I'm serving them with all of the capabilities that I have and the things that make sense. Obviously, like, you don't want to start selling something that's completely just in another spectrum, but you know, weight loss goes along, and health is obviously something that goes hand in hand with aesthetics and just overall, you know, wellness of mind, body, and so on.
Well, I see these two industries coming together more than ever. And one of the things that makes me wonder is just that right now, I think the biggest expense for any business owner is their overhead. And the rent alone is absolutely astronomical.
Mm-hmm.
And people are trying to find little areas where they can create a business. And a lot of times, you know, for both medical doctors and aesthetics, it's coming together because you can just maximize a space. It has a very similar feel. So that's why I think that these two things bring both worlds together when you talk about weight loss. And whether it is the esthetician in the back of a dermatologist's office, or, you know, the doctor that wanted to pick up more hours, so became the medical director of a medical spa setting. You know, I'm seeing lots of opportunities for partnerships. And again, this is an industry that it's not going anywhere. It's only getting bigger. And if you can offer something that's going to bring all of your services and encompass all of them, in a membership model. Yeah. I mean, I usually call it more like a global package. And, you know, when I think, you know, we both have little kids. So we went through this together, you know, when we were at our OBGYN's office, and you don't pay a copay every single time. It doesn't matter if you deliver in 36 weeks or 42 weeks, right? It's the same price. It gets billed through the insurance. That's that global package. And so I think of the same thing when I think of weight loss. I think it goes really nicely in a global package where you'll make guidelines for what could happen, what could be included. Maybe everyone sort of starts off on a similar journey, whether you start with a detox or you know, cleaning out your cabinets and your refrigerator and getting yourself ready to go. And then you'll go into a really simple program and make it more and more personalized as you continue on with the customer journey. So whether then you add in things that are more medical, like allergy testing or genetic testing, you know, metabolic testing, there's lots of then lab services that can be acquired, especially if you're working with a medical professional, if you're working with someone like a naturopath, even a chiropractor. And then from there, I love what you said. I mean, I'm gonna probably take this with the membership model, you know, and then adding in, right? Because once you're seeing the results, well, now we're having other results like saggier skin, or we want to continue to feel good and take care of ourselves and pamper ourselves and treat ourselves. Also thinking about gamifying it, that's a huge thing that's in all industries today, is a gamification piece. And so everyone likes to be the biggest loser or the biggest winner, or, you know, someone who's checking off the most boxes. A little competition doesn't hurt. And when you have a facility that has so many different services and you can incentivize in that way, I mean, I'm not going into my, you know, bariatric surgeon's office and they're not going to say, well, you know, win a free massage if you complete all of your journal check-ins. And that's where a medical spa setting, I think, has the advantage to be more fun with it, make it that it is more of a community. You have a little bit more freedom with that in that kind of setting.
Yeah, one of my mentors in the industry, Matt Toronto, he owns Aesthetic Hair, and he also owns a consulting company called Mint Aesthetics. And one of his kind of core values is fun. And what he always says is, we're not curing cancer here. You know, this is fun. We are doing, you know, cosmetic treatments. But one question that comes up for me, and I was thinking about this as you were talking about the Facebook group, is how do you deal with HIPAA? You know, how do you?
Every practitioner is going to be different in how that they want to bring that together. And that's where sometimes also a health coach can, if you can take it and put it in a different part of the business. So you're going to have to, you know, just talk to, obviously, your attorney about that. I'm not going to give any sort of legal advice, but if it's something that is optional, they can opt into. You know, I've seen a lot of Facebook communities starting to pop up in the medical space. And so typically that is the patient saying, yes, I want to be in, I'm okay. I give permission to be able to do that. The other thing you do want to be aware of, and I'm glad that you did bring this up, is what you can do in terms of nutritional counseling in your space. So there is a great resource. It's a website called nutritionadvocacy.org. And you can click on your state and see who can give nutrition advice. Based on, so that they're all color coded, all the different states. That's a great place to start, because you want to make sure you are within safe harbor, which is another reason why I point out too, if you don't have all the resources to be able to do what you truly want to do with weight loss, go find someone that you can bring on board. There's lots of people that are looking for per diem, moonlight, virtual positions that are more than qualified to be able to help your patients.
Yeah, that's the thing, is we don't have to have all the answers, right? It's about, we have to come up with the vision and what we want to be able to provide to our patients, but it doesn't have to be all done from us. And I think that doctors are seeing that, you know, it's like now doctors are delegating things to NPs and delegating things to estheticians and, you know, taking things off their plate, but why not delegate to a dietitian or a nutritionist or a health coach, you know, to really create that customer journey, to create that experience for them of the whole package, you know? Yeah.
And use technology to your advantage. We're seeing a lot of iPads and computers that are being used to even sell programs. And I've seen that in the weight loss industry, to be able to say to a patient, you know, you're a candidate for our weight loss program. We have groups starting up the first of every month, or we have a rolling admission. Here I've put together a short video that highlights our experience, our model. If you want to watch this, and then on your way out, you can talk to Nancy about enrolling. And so it doesn't have to be such a hard sell, because it is a uncomfortable conversation for some people to be able to bring up. And you have to fit that into the model. And I have found that using technology, using video marketing within the practice has really helped.
Awesome. So do you have any other tips or resources? We'll definitely link up that website you mentioned in the show notes, but any other tips or resources for anyone listening who might want to kind of explore this a little bit more?
Yeah. For one thing is, I just want people to know that, you know, there is that saying, right, that you have to walk the walk before you can talk the talk. And a lot of people feel as if they aren't far enough on their journey. And, you know, if everyone thought that, right, that you had to be a complete expert before you just dove right in, then we would never have continuing education. It wouldn't be called the practice of medicine. Things are going to continue to evolve. And I can tell you that you're definitely an expert in something, that whether it's with wellness, whether it's with self-care, whether it is with nutrition, you are an expert. You should be in this space. You deserve to be in this space. And just take some time to think about all the different services that you do provide and all the ones that you could provide. And I find also that this group medical model is really effective. So two things. One is a group medical model where you're, not necessarily counseling people individually, but more, again, just to go back to what we know, that Weight Watchers model where we're all together in a group. We're seeing this across medicine as it just more effective. It's more cost effective. It's more time effective. But then even thinking about it at telemedicine also, people want to virtually. They like things like Zoom. They like Skype sessions. They like maybe a monthly conference call.
Mm-hmm.
And you don't have to always be the expert. So you could find someone, a strategic partner for exercise, a personal trainer, a gym, mindful eating coach, someone like that to come in and be the expert. And then I think that the residuals and the lifetime customer value is on some sort of retail product. I think that I'm just going to go back and defer to you, Daniela, in your area of expertise, that retail piece. In my opinion, I do think it is best with supplementation, because I think that is something that people can stay on long term.
Mm-hmm.
Statistically, over 50% of consumers want advice on supplements from their medical professional.
Mm-hmm.
And I think then you can create an optimal wellness, a baseline foundational wellness program that even when they've lost the weight, when they're done with you, they move away, especially if you do something that's private labeled, which I've seen has been very popular today.
Mm-hmm.
If you do something that is proprietary back to your space, you could keep that customer for life, and
Right.
referrals can easily come in.
That's wonderful. So you definitely have my wheels turning and thinking about different ideas. And we will definitely link up all of these things that you've said in the show notes. Anything else for you to make this episode complete?
Yeah, I will also on my website, saratugender.com, and I'll give you a link for your show notes. I'm going to come up with a whole journey map where you can meditate on this, and I'll give you all of the resources where you can check off boxes. It'll get your wheels turning about what you could add for your practice in terms of weight loss. And so that will be on my website, just for your podcast listeners. It won't be.
Awesome. That sounds amazing. Thank you so much for that, Sarah. I really appreciate your time. I think this has just been really eye-opening for the listeners, whether you want to add medically assisted weight loss or not. I think that this episode can help you to see that there's so many other possibilities. So don't limit yourself. I mean, jump into creating a space for your patients that makes the most sense for them. And if medically assisted weight loss is in there, it seems like a win-win on all levels. It's going to help your patients, and it's going to be an added revenue source for you and your business. So awesome. Thank you again, Sarah, so much.
Thank you.